Well, Nicole was my last baby, so my second marriage. The one and only daughter my husband Chris has, or had. She was so gentle, so lovely. We always said she should have been born in the 60s. She was like a real hippie. She couldn't care about how she looked. And when she went to uni, she went to Westminster, which is next to Northwick Park Hospital in Harrow. And my eldest daughter had a flat in Wembley. So she did her first year in halls, and then her second year she lived with Bibaa. Bibaa was, I suppose, more like me, probably about 5 foot, and she had like small woman syndrome. I think because she was small, she always pushed herself forward, very forthright. She really found her niche when she became a social worker.
So no surprise that they wanted to have this party then up in the...
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
The party in Friant Country Park in Wembley continued for several hours. The friends who'd been with the sisters left. The alarm was raised by Nicole's boyfriend Adam, who was gripped by panic when he still hadn't heard from them by 5 p.m. the next day.
He said, "I'm really worried." Now, he bought her a pet. It's bearded dragon, and the telling for him was she hadn't gone home. She hadn't asked him to feed the pet, and she hadn't asked anybody else, and she would never have done that. And he said, "I phoned the police and they're not doing anything."
Mina and her husband Chris then began to call the police themselves.
There seemed to be no sense of urgency. Anybody I was talking to it was a different person every time. There was no follow-up. To cut a very long story short, we had to do the missing persons. We had to track down who was at the picnic. I knew from the pictures a couple of people, but I don't, when your children get in their 40s and close to their 30s, you don't have the telephone numbers for their friends. So we did that through Facebook.
Mina waited by the phone as friends and family carried out a search of the country park. First, they found a knife. The next call she received was the one she had been dreading.
Adam just suddenly said, Mina, I need you to sit down. I've found them and they're gone." And I just remember screaming, really, just screaming. There's that, please don't let this be. How could it be? How?
What became very evident in court is that they had fought to protect each other.
Yeah.
That must have been difficult to evidence to listen to.
That was horrific. Bibaa had been taken completely by surprise. They could tell. And our little Nick, she had something like 38 wounds, and quite a few of them were defence wounds. So even after she had fallen to the ground, he continued stabbing her.
How has Chris dealt with it?
Oh, he's as broken as I am, but we deal with it differently. We'll look at each other when we see something and we'll go, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" And when they found Nikki and they were doing the forensics, she had, they found a piece of a silver birch in her palm of her hand. And, there's certain things that trigger you. I remember driving down, Chris was driving, and we passed, on the motorway you have trees, and I glimpsed a silver birch, and it took me to that place. So that beautiful tree will forever be a trigger.
There was a national outcry when Sarah Everard was killed in similar circumstances months later, which left Mina and her family with uncomfortable questions about why the deaths of Nicole and Bibaa received comparatively little attention.
You can do a direct comparison of what the coverage was for Sarah, and this is not a competition. Actually, in places like Brent or South London, there's a view of who they think we are as people of colour, and we get treated differently.
The family were in court for most of the trial, sitting just yards away from the man who murdered the sisters as a sacrifice to the devil to win the lottery.
The link between his pact with a demon and me being a clergy person, you may have thought, oh, that must be horrifying. Actually, at the moment I heard about this pact, I felt the Holy Spirit just fill me up, and I said, I've got this. I've got this. And when I see him for the first time, I'll know whether he is actually deluded or actually dabbling. And I can say actually he's deluded. He's just a sad, sad young man. I don't hate him because I wouldn't allow that to hold me back. He's not going to hold me emotionally captive. I know who he is, and I know what he's done.
The family are now planning a mass public vigil for the day Nicole shared her birthday with her father. They want to reframe the sisters' legacy, so they're remembered not for the way they were killed, but for the life they lived.
Bibaa the Spitfire and Nikki the Flower Girl, hopefully looking forward.